He spent $520 of his own money on scratch-off tickets that night and lost every single one. Then he handed me $1 and told me to try. 20 minutes later, my entire family was screaming at me over Thanksgiving dinner, demanding a cut of a ticket none of them paid 1 cent for. Let's get into it. 6 stories today about people who thought other people's money, choices, and boundaries were somehow theirs to claim. My brother-in-law has a real habit. Somewhere between $400 and $800 a month on scratch-off tickets, while he and my sister turn around and tell the rest of the family how badly they're struggling financially. One night, he drags me along to a gas station and blows over $500 in a single sitting. Every ticket a dud. When he catches me quietly judging him, he tells me to stop being uptight and just buy one myself. So I hand over exactly $1 for a Halloween-themed scratcher. While I mid-sentence lecturing him about how much money he wastes, I finish scratching my own ticket and realize I've missed a bonus multiplier section. When I scratch that too, the cashier confirms it. I've just won $20,000 off a single dollar ticket. My brother-in-law's face cycles through about 4 emotions before he demands I hand the ticket over so he can see it properly. He makes a scene right there at the register when I ask to borrow a pen to sign the back. From that moment on, it's nothing but pressure. First, him and my sister trying to guilt me into splitting it with them. Then, days later, my own parents in their late 60s leaning on me to hand over $10,000. I said no every time. It came to a head at Thanksgiving when my sister, her husband, and apparently my other siblings too all cornered me at the table about the money. My oldest brother even suggesting I fund a family vacation with it. I turned every single request down, and predictably that made me the villain of the evening. Here's my actual question. Did any of them put in a single penny toward that ticket? No. So as far as I'm concerned, they can go pound sand. Money brings out the worst in people. But so does jealousy, apparently. This next one's about an ex-boyfriend, his new girlfriend, and a cosplay outfit that was somehow everyone's business but hers. I broke up with my boyfriend of the time 8 months ago. Mutually, no drama, and we still share the same friend group. Since then, I've worked hard on myself. Therapy, the gym, better habits, and for the first time, I felt confident enough to try a cosplay that actually showed my face and figure, instead of the full coverage characters I used to hide behind. 3 weeks before a big convention, I shared a preview photo in our group chat asking for feedback. My ex DM'd me privately asking me not to wear it because it might make his new girlfriend uncomfortable. When I asked what exactly the problem was, he wouldn't explain. I wasn't about to scrap 6 months of work over a stranger's feelings, so I wore it anyway. At the con, I kept my distance from him and his girlfriend as much as I could, though we still crossed paths with the group for most of the day. She spent the whole time making snide little comments and laughing every time someone asked to take my picture. Later, over dinner, another friend casually asked if she'd ever want to try cosplay herself, and she shot back that she didn't need more attention from guys, because unlike some people, she wasn't a slut. That's when I snapped and told her to stop acting like she was above it just because I'd gotten some attention that day. She burst into tears. My ex demanded I apologize, and I told him I'd only do that if she apologized first for how she treated me all day. The whole friend group got pulled into the argument, and it escalated so badly that the restaurant asked us to leave. 5 days later, he's threatening to leave the friend group entirely if I don't cave and say sorry. And some of our mutual friends are pressuring me to do it just to keep the peace. From jealousy to just plain stubbornness. This next one might be the pettiest and longest running argument you'll hear all week, and it's entirely about chicken. A close friend of my husband's, a woman in her late 60s, has one very specific rule at dinner. She won't eat veal or lamb because, in her words, she doesn't eat babies. She's announced this stance at nearly every meal we've shared for over a year, whether or not veal was even on the table. Eventually, I did some digging because something about her logic bothered me. Chickens, as it turns out, are typically slaughtered younger, both in absolute age and as a percentage of their natural lifespan, than lambs or calves raised for meat. So the next time she proudly announced her "I don't eat babies" line at a family gathering, I pointed out that she was, in fact, eating a 6-week-old chicken at that exact moment. She insisted chickens are fully grown by the time they're slaughtered. I explained that's only true because of selective breeding and feed, not age. She told me to shut up. I let it go to avoid a scene. But months later, at yet another meal, she said the exact same "I don't eat babies" line again, like clockwork. Now I want to lay down an ultimatum next time she visits. Either she stops eating chicken or she stops repeating the line, because doing both at once just makes her a hypocrite, and I'm done staying quiet about it.
Speaking of things people say without thinking them through, here's a dad whose running joke about his teenage daughter's love life didn't land the way he thought it would.
My youngest daughter is 17 and has always wanted the kind of storybook romance her mother and I have. We've got a genuinely happy marriage, and I think that set an example she's now trying to live up to years too early. The result has been a long, forgettable parade of boyfriends over the past 2 years. So many and so short-lived that I started privately calling all of them Baskin Robbins, since they were basically the flavor of the week. My daughter is sweet, funny, and kind. This joke was never really about her, in my head, just a comment on how fleeting teenage relationships tend to be. But when I repeated the joke to a friend recently, she got genuinely upset with me, saying it made my daughter sound promiscuous and that I was out of line. That reaction completely blindsided me. I'd never once thought of it that way. Last one. This is about a stepdaughter who only remembered she liked her stepmother the moment she thought there was money involved. My husband has a daughter from his first marriage, 22 now, and never particularly interested in having a relationship with me. I respected that. I never tried to parent her, kept things polite but distant for years. She recently decided to go to grad school, and my husband had saved a specific amount for a local affordable program. Without much warning, she applied and got into a much more expensive out-of-state school instead, doubling the cost. My husband told her plainly it was outside what he'd saved, but she didn't seem to take that seriously, apparently assuming the money would just appear. Stressed, my husband asked if I'd cover the difference using my own separate inheritance, money I'd been saving specifically toward a house we planned to buy together. I told him no, that account was never meant to be shared, by our own agreement. I told him I'd think it over, mostly just to ease his stress in the moment. He apparently mentioned that conversation to his sister, who then told my stepdaughter that I was covering the tuition. She called me suddenly warm and grateful for the first time in years. I had to correct her. There'd been a misunderstanding. I wasn't paying. The warmth vanished instantly. She accused me of hoarding money to be cruel, of controlling her through finances, and called me every name in the book. I called her entitled right back. Now my husband's gone quiet, and I can feel the unspoken expectation that I should just cave to keep the peace, even though his own sister is the one who started this mess by lying to her in the first place. 5 stories, 1 theme.
people who believed that other people's money, choices, or personal boundaries were acceptable to encroach on. Which one angered you the most? Tell us in the comments. I read every one. Subscribe to receive a new story every day. See you tomorrow.